What up, though? My name is KG the Kid, and you have officially tuned in to Crowned Confessions and Conversations, where you can expect authentic discussion about life, relationships, current events, and everything in between, all from a faith perspective. Let's get it. What up, though? My name is KG the Kid, and you have officially tuned into Crowned Confessions and Conversations. I would like to take the opportunity to say thank you to everybody who has participated or who has listened to season 1. We have officially jumped right into season 2. The podcast turned 1 in October, and I'm just completely overwhelmed. I was looking back at some of the stats today, and I have over 499 listens and downloads. That's just wild to me, honey, okay?
Yeah.
I don't know why y'all want to be bothered with me, because let me tell you, that's crazy. But I also wanted to take the opportunity to recognize, in my last episode, I talked about my therapeutic process. I talked about Dr. B. I needed to get clarification. I wasn't sure if I could share who she was, because I don't do mental health like that. I'm an educator, so I don't know. But I can't, so I would like to very much say shout out to Dr. Brandy Pritchett Johnson, who is my therapist. And Dr. Brandy is the owner of the Diane Morgan Group, that is a dynamic group of therapists who are very devoted to the work that they do. So I want to publicly tell Dr. Brandy, thank you so much for all that it is that you do and deal with me, because I know I am crazy. Well, I'm not crazy, but you know, Dr. B, we be kicking it, so I ain't even worried about it. But yes, I am excited because for season 2, we are going to get into deeper, just conversations. Like, I'm looking to use this platform as a means to discuss and talk about things that are not normally discussed, especially from my perspective and being, a person of faith, being a Christian, but really talking about those topics that are kind of taboo, or things that really aren't being addressed in a way that really help to change people's lives. Right. So I'm excited. I'm honored. My very first guest for season 2, because y'all know we're going to jump right in, is my cousin, Miss Sysylai Donald. How you doing, sis?
Hello, cousin.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Y'all hear all that love, okay? All that cousin love. There is nothing on this earth quite like the bond that I have with my cousin. So it's definitely an honor. We've talked about this episode for a good while now. A while. And you are here. And I'm excited. It's truly an honor and a privilege to create this space and this opportunity for you to share your story. I believe that there is so much healing, and there is so much that connects us as humans with the human narrative. So I always want to create a platform and utilize my platform as a means to be able to help other people share. So you are doing amazing, amazing things. And I couldn't be any more proud, but I'm excited about being able to let you do what you do and talk about what you need to talk about and share with the world. So if you want to tell the people a little bit about who you are, we're going to jump right in.
Okay. Well, my name is Sysylai Donald. I am the founder and CEO of REM Awareness and Healing Center. REM stands for Rape, Incest, and Molestation. Is that too heavy?
No, you good.
Okay.
You good.
Because, that's such a hard,
It is.
It's hard, but
it's
blunt and to the point,
It is.
And that's exactly why I prayed about it, and that's what God told me to go with, and that's what I went with. So, the reason that I started this nonprofit was because clearly I went through those things.
Mm-hmm.
I went through rape. I went through, I would say it was ancestral, but I turned out that I wasn't blood with those people. So, but I was raised my whole life with them as family. So I would say some of those things that they had us doing was,
Agreed.
That was ancestral, and molestation as well. So that's how I kind of came up with the name, because all 3 of those things I have been through, and with the way things went down with me, I felt the need to come back and help somebody else.
Yeah.
I've known since I was about very young, very young. What I was supposed to do, but I just wasn't ready. You know, I was in a dark place because of the things that I went through. You know, and it's so funny because oddly enough, I didn't realize that I was in this place. I didn't realize how dark of a place I was in until I recently, you know, woke up one day with a new set of lenses. You know, so. You know, it started out as a little girl. I was 5 when I had my first experience with someone, you know, touching me inappropriately. And that was a cousin in the family that I grew up in. My mom was married to a guy who she allowed to raise me as his own, but turns out he wasn't, you know. But I didn't know that until... You know, fast forward, it was the cousin, and then it was him, my stepfather. He started to touch me, and, you know, up until I told, that was my dad, you know, the person that I loved and known as my dad my whole life, you know. And I had to be maybe about, if I was roughly 4 or 5 with the first incident with my stepfather, it had to be, I want to say maybe 8.
Wow.
You know, around that age when he started. I'm not really sure. I just know that it went on for a long time. Yeah. And in a kid mind, you know, it felt like it was forever. Yeah. So I would say at least a year before I even told, you know. Okay. And it was like, it started off small with, well, I won't say small because it's never small for someone to touch you when they shouldn't be. Right. So it started off with him just touching me, fondling me, you know. And I feel like a lot of nights I wasn't even quite aware, you know. Okay. I would be asleep and I would wake up and I'm, you know, a little soaked down there and I'm thinking like, well, what? And then after a while I realized what was happening, you know. Yeah. And then it went from just touching to now him inserting himself inside of me. Yeah. And when that started, it was like, that's when it really got rough for me, you know. My life started to change. My grades started going down. I feel like that's when I just started to be, I was sad, you know. I was sad, but it was, when I was growing up, you was seen but not heard. You had to stay in the kid's place and all of these different rules. So it was like those things weren't noticed, you know. Yeah. The grades were obviously, you know, but it wasn't, well, why? You know, it wasn't looked at why. Yeah. What is all these changes? Where are these changes coming from, you know? But that's when things started to change with me, you know. I can remember being in 2nd grade, and I don't even know exactly what age group that would be. What, about 7 or 8? 7 or 8, yeah. Yeah, so it maybe was even earlier than 8. Because I can remember being in the 2nd grade, and I went to school and told my friends that I was pregnant. And it was like, what? They weren't sure of what that meant. Right. How. Everyone was looking like, what? So one of my friends went home and told her mom, like, my friend said she's pregnant and this and that. And when she came back the next day, it was like, my mom said you can't be pregnant because you're a kid and this, you know. And I said, well, I am, and your mom don't know what she's talking about. And this I don't even know where this is coming from, why I just chose to one day decide to tell them that, you know. Yeah. But I feel like those little things like that was me, like, crying out. You know? And you didn't even know. You didn't even recognize it yourself. I wasn't aware. Yeah. I wasn't aware. I'm thinking, I don't know why I said it, you know, but now I have to go along with it. So I went as far as pretending that I didn't have the baby now. Okay. Not and brought the baby, so-called baby, to school in my book bag, and it's in the locker, like. Yeah, but it just points back to the fact you were a child. You were innocent. I don't know any better, you know. But I'm telling people that I literally had a baby, to where it got back to my teacher, and he came and he sat down and talked to me. His name was Mr. Wright. I'll never forget him. And he was like, you know, he recognized that something was wrong with that picture, you know? But it was like, I don't know. I don't know if I told him enough. I don't feel like I told him enough for him to try to do something about it, you know?
Yeah.
So he kind of just kept his eyes on me, but, you know, I never would tell. I never would tell because, mind you, while he's doing this to me, he's telling me that, you know, if you tell your mom or if you tell anybody, and this is my dad telling me that if I tell anybody that, you know, what he'll do to me or what he'll do to my mom or my mom being very strict and what's the word that I want to use? Because I'm trying to be sensitive to, you know.
People. Listen, I think, I know, and we've talked about this a little bit, so I think part of it was you talked about her being strict to the point where you felt like, not that you weren't sure how to communicate with her about what was going on because you didn't want it to be a situation where you ended up in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Basically. Yeah. You know, it was, I didn't really know how to talk to her.
Yeah.
And kind of fearful of her.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest. So, and that would be used against us. Not just me, but, well, I'm speaking for me, so I'm just going to keep with me. But that would be used against me as a kid. You know, I tell your mama, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, all right. It was almost like a blackmail type method, you know? And so he would tell me what he would do to me or what he would do to my mom or what my mom would do to me if I told her, you know, like I'm the bad person in the situation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, you know, let's fast forward because the story, my life and all that I've been through is so large, it's so big. Like I've not experienced it just with the one person. You know, as he started doing what he was doing, about sometime after that, a year in, he's touching me. Then now the cousins, we go over grandma's house after church, and now the cousins have us in the basement, and it's you touch this person, and that person touched this person, and you know this person gonna do this and that and that, and it was that, you know. But by that time that came along, it was like I already didn't feel worthy anymore. I've already been stripped of my love for myself, my anything positive about me is now gone. It's all diminished. I don't feel worthy of anything really, but I don't know that. Right. I'm not aware of that.
You're still too young to identify all these different things that are coming at you and happening to you.
Right. So we that was happening. And then, but he's still doing what he's doing and it's going on and on. And it got to a point where I started, when he would touch me some days, I would literally try to talk to him. Mind you, I'm 8, 9 at this point. And I'm trying to talk to him like, Diddy, why do you do this? Like, why do you do this to me? Like, I didn't know what was happening originally when it started originally, but I knew that it was wrong. It felt wrong. It just felt like this is not supposed to be happening, you know? And I started to question him about these things, and he like, well, you know, you do everything for me. I love you. He never would tell me that I wasn't his, but he would tell me stories about there was a particular couple at a church that we were, where we frequented at.
Right.
And apparently something had happened with him, with one of the reverends or deacons or whatever his position was. Okay. And his stepdaughter. And he was like, I know you heard about such and such, and, you know, and, you know, they love each other and it's okay. And, you know, and it got to a point where he started trying to groom me.
That's crazy.
Like, really groom me to be his girlfriend.
Wow.
And this right here is something that, you know, I'm really because it's so important that someone else gets the help that they need.
Yeah.
That someone else feels they can have a voice again.
Mm-hmm.
That someone else can be heard, seen, helped, you know.
Yeah.
Know that they aren't alone. I am really telling you stuff that I know I've never told you before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that I've not told but maybe one or two other people in my whole life.
Yeah.
You know? He began to groom me to be like his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't rocking with that.
Right.
I'm like, how can I call you daddy and you be my boyfriend at the same time? And it's like, well, you iron my shirts, you wash my back, and I was.
Yeah.
I had to go when he take his bath. I just holler. He's hollering from the bathroom, come wash my back, and I'm like, well, or such and such, you know, let someone else do it.
Ooh, child.
And no, you come. So I'm in there scrubbing his back, never thinking this is all in.
You innocent,
you know. So it's you wash my back, you iron my clothes, you make my plate, or sometimes even dinner. You cook dinner, you do everything around the house. So like it's almost like you are the wife, you know. And I'm like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, has anybody ever did something like this to you? You know? And he told me yes, when he was a kid, one of his female cousins, he said, had did something to him.
Wow.
Because now I'm trying to get in his head.
Yeah.
Because why do you do this? You know, I found out that he told me that he would drink sometimes. And that's why he would come in my room. Mm. You know, still, I don't understand what drinking is at the time. Because
you're a kid still.
I have seen an uncle that drinks a lot and, you know, he's stumbling and this and that, but I don't know what all of this means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like I grew up, like, in a cloud where you didn't know nothing. You wasn't taught anything.
Yeah.
You know, life, you was just going along with whatever. So I feel like it was like I didn't know nothing. I was so naive to everything, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that was one of the reasons why when predators look at children, they look for those type of things.
Yeah.
You know, you shy, you naive, you quiet, you know. But it's crazy because as a toddler, I wasn't so quiet and I was very rambunctious and very talkative, but when that first experience happened at 5, that kind of silenced me. That's where my silence started, you know. And from there, it just kept dwindling, you know.
Whew.
I've had a lot of sexual trauma in my life, you know, and because of that, as I got older and I was able to get away from everything, because, well, let me not go too fast, because there was a point where I actually did tell on him.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know how, but I knew I was tired.
Yeah.
I felt like I could not go to my mom, and I didn't know who to go to.
Yeah.
So I told my sibling, one of my siblings that was right up under me, like about 18 months under me. Mm-hmm. I told that person, and immediately he was like, we out of here.
Yeah.
Today, we're leaving.
He believed you. He knew.
Immediately.
Yeah.
I said, okay, well, I'm running with what you say. Mm-hmm. You say we leaving. Where we going?
Right.
We going to grandma. We going to the other grandmother's house. Mm-hmm. You know, on my mom's mother. That's where we're going. Because all of the other stuff, all of the sexual trauma and demonic behaviors that's going on is going on the dad's side. Okay. So we're not going over there. We're going over here where we know somebody gonna do something about it, right? Mm-hmm. And as close as I've always been with that grandmother, it was like you would have thought that I would have just outright told her, but
yeah,
I just could not do it.
Right.
I could not do it. My brother was the closest person that I could tell, so I did. And he was like, we out. And I followed his plan. We left that night, went to my grandmother's. She was like, listen, she believed me, but she was like, listen, well, I'm going to pray about it and see what God says, and we'll go from there tomorrow. We're going to sleep on it. My mom realized that we were gone, of course. She called all around. My grandmother and my auntie played along like they didn't know where we were. My auntie went out looking for us with my mom and everything. And we was there the whole night. You know, the next day, my grandmother got up, went to work. I woke up somewhere in the afternoon to my auntie waking me up saying, get the phone. My grandmother is telling me, listen, I'm about to leave work. When I get there, I need you to come out the side door. I need you to get in the back seat. I want you to lay on the floor until I tell you that it's clear to get up, right? And that's what we did. And she took me down to Children's Hospital, where at the time I had to go under a John Doe, an alias name, because my mom worked there at the time. So, and they didn't know if she was actually at work or what was going on.
Yeah.
So they did that. And I remember the doctor coming in after my examination and everything. And it was the police and the doctors and the nurse and my grandmother and myself. And they were questioning me and asking me, you know, what happened? Who was it? And they asked me who was the person to me. And I said, my daddy. And my grandmother said, no, it's not her dad. It's her stepdad. And I remember looking over at her and saying, what you mean?
You just found out something you didn't know.
I said, no, that's my daddy. I don't know, like, what she's talking about. And she was like, no, that's your stepdaddy. And, you know, and she explained to the officers and, you know, everybody in the room that I didn't know, and that, you know, she explained to me that we'll talk about it later. I'm looking like, okay. So I'm going through, something is happening inside when I hear this.
Right.
But I don't know how to convey that, you know? But a part of me was feeling happy, and a part of me was, like, a little sad, I would say. Because I didn't understand. I think I was sad. But I was happy because now I don't feel so icky, you know? Because imagine your dad touching not, like, it was even as I talk about it now,
it's rough.
So, I realized that the doctors went to telling the officers that, you know, what they found and how it was scrapes and tears in my vagina. And how it couldn't be a child or someone in my age group, you know, because they wouldn't be able to. Yeah. So I never forgot that. And I think a part of me maybe didn't need to hear that. Yeah. You know, because it almost, even though I didn't understand it, it felt like something was wrong with that. You know, like, that's not right. Yeah. And now it's messed up. You know, that's what I'm thinking in my head as a kid. Like, oh, it's scrapes and tears. Like, so it's messed up now, you know? Yeah. There's no value there now in my mind, you know? So it went from that to, I ended up staying with my grandma. The police came. They got him and all of this. And in the process of him getting picked up, after he was picked up, I was able to go back home. And, you know, this is where it's interesting because I actually had an option, right? I could have stayed with my grandmother while everything unfolded, or I could have went back home while everything unfolded. But if I went home, he couldn't be there. Okay. That was the stipulation. Yeah. So I remember talking to the counselor, the person from what is it called? like a
child
social
support
work
services.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember talking to her, and she was telling me, like, she basically was saying, "Don't go home. You don't have to go home. If I was you, I wouldn't." Like, it was almost like she was trying to tell me. She couldn't say don't, but she said it in a way that I felt like she was telling me, "Don't go home."
Right.
But she also had to tell me that I could go home,
right,
if that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
Now, I went home. I made the choice to go home, and I did that because of my siblings. You know, because at this point, I mean, it wasn't like what he had said when he said that I was doing everything was a lie. Right. I really was. And I was connected to my siblings in a way that almost like a motherly figure for them. You know?
Because you're the oldest. I mean,
So I went back because I felt like they needed me and I needed them.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'm now safe because he's gone.
Yeah.
You know? So whatever with my mom, I can deal with that, you know, but I don't want to deal with that, you know. Well, I get home the same day I went home. I got there maybe right around after school hours, 4-ish, 5-ish, something like that. Me and my siblings, happy-go-lucky. Yeah. We bonding together, and the phone rings. My mom is telling me, I've already checked in with her to let her know I was there or whatever, but now she's calling and she's saying, y'all get ready to go to church. Your daddy about to pick y'all up for church. And I said, what do you mean?
Right.
They said I can't be around him. I said, get ready. Your daddy is about to pick y'all up for church. And that's that.
Wow.
What can I do?
Right.
Now, had I used my brain, I could have just called my grandma, or I could have done something like that. But at this point, I just stuck my foot in my mouth. So now I'm just like, okay, well.
Plus, you were a kid. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I got to get ready and go. And that's what I did. We got ready. We went to church. And that's where, you know, when I had the event recently, I spoke about getting there and everyone was praying for him and all over him like he was the victim in the situation. Yeah. And I'm sitting in the pew just looking like, mind you, all this family that I grew up in is heavy in church, religion, you know, reverend, pastor, you know, all these.
Yeah.
So, you know, long story short, they ended up making me change my story. Mm-hmm. He was able to get off. He came back home. And things went right back to normal, which now my normal is him coming into my room every other night and doing whatever he wants, you know. So now I'm urinating on myself 10, 11, 12, peeing in the bed.
Yeah. Yeah. Sheesh.
Like, what?
Yeah.
So it just went back to the same thing. And it was almost like he knew he had won, and I got this. I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It was rough growing up like that. My whole childhood was like being abused some way, somehow, in one form or another, you know? And I just feel like I tried my best to step out and be strong and tell about all these things, but because when I told, I had to tell about all of the other things because as time went on throughout the whole process of the trial, or not trial, but just before going into the trial and stuff, you know, the family was telling them, oh, she was doing this and doing that and doing this. So all of these things about the ancestral behaviors, all of that came out in the very first time that I told. So he came back. It was all that started all over again.
Yeah.
Only now it's probably, I want to say it was like 10 when that all took place. Probably about 11 and a half, 12. I remember being in like the 7th grade. And now I'm in a new school. I like my school. I like the people I'm going to school with. I have a new best friend, but this situation is still happening, right?
Yeah.
But now my parents, my stepdad and my mom, they're going through their changes, and so he's in and out the house.
Okay.
But even when he's out the house, he's obligated to go pick us up from school, or he might come and spend a night and stay a day or two, and then now he's taking us back and forth, or, these things. So, in those times, my mom is at work, he pick us up from school, he bring us home. Everybody has to go to their respective place in the area in the house, and then I have to somehow be the one to go do something away from everybody else. That way he can have his time with me. So my brother, who was already aware of what has gone on, he comes to me one day and he says, "Sis, is he touching you again?" And I say, "It don't matter. Like, wow. If I answer the question, I can answer the question, but even if I answer the question, what difference does it make? Because, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen at this point?"
Yeah.
He said, "Just answer the question. Is he touching you again?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I figured that. I knew it because he named, like, so whenever we come home and he tell us to do this and do that, that's when," and I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, so this is what we gonna do. The next time, we gonna set it up where I'm gonna bust in and we gonna see what he can. If I catch him red-handed, what can he do?"
Yeah.
No denying it. No,
Right.
I said, "Okay, you want to do that? That we can do it." But in my mind, I don't care.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm just waiting for the day where I'm old enough to get up out of here.
Right.
Really, I done checked out. Really, So he said, we gonna do that. We came up with the whole plan. The very next time he came, we did exactly what we planned. He knew that our room was in the basement at the time. So he was in the basement and the door was closed. If you open that door, if you walk up those steps, it's gonna make creaky sounds.
Yeah.
If you open that door, it's gonna screech. Yeah. So when he came in and was ordered to go downstairs, and he seen the whole road, the map. It was a clear map. You could see it, And he's a kid, and at this point, he's picked up and able to see this map and how this is the direction you're going to do this and this and that.
Yeah.
So once he seen all of that going on, he said, "You know what?" I found out later, he didn't go down the steps. He stayed right. He closed the door. He made it noises like he was going down the steps, but didn't.
Yeah.
Smart.
Exactly.
He was really like, I'm going to catch him in the act. He knew what the door was going to do. So when everything was happening, my cue was to let him know, come. I had to do it, So I did that with my elbow. I was on the ground, so I used my elbow to kind of make that 3, 1, 2, 3 noise, And he came just bam through the door. Like he had to push it in real fast so that now you know him. Yeah. You know who the stepdad is, so you know he's a big guy. Yeah. Ain't no getting up running.
Not at all.
You couldn't. So he caught him with his pants down, trying to get up. He did get up and try to run, but he caught him in running with his pants down, and me in the corner with mine down, curled up, crying. So he like, "I'm telling my mama, I'm telling. He like, "No, you ain't see." He's telling him he didn't see what he think he saw.
Okay.
My brother like, "What?" No, he's telling me, the person is telling me, tell him he didn't see what he think he saw.
Wow.
So he tells us, he talking to the point where we kind of, siblings can give each other that. Yeah. We can talk without saying a word. Yep. So we kind of gave each other this, go along, whatever he says, all right. Yeah. At this point, he's not going to stop. So we went along with him saying, it didn't happen, wasn't nothing going on and all that. Okay.
Right.
When my mama got there, my brother figured out a way to pull her to the side and let her know what had happened.
Yeah.
So she then pulls me out. She figures out a way to, we got to go run and grab the script, do something. Sis, come on, ride with me, whatever. Get in the car. We pull us down to St. John, Maross, and, what is it?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I see
right in the little strip of St. John Hospital on Maross is all these little stores or whatever. And we went right there where the Rite Aid was, used the payphone, and she called the 911 and told them, that what was going on.
Yeah.
My daughter has been touched by her stepdad, and I need the police at my house. She gave them the address and all of this. They instructed her. They asked where she was. She told them. They instructed her to go back to the house, act normal, like nothing was going on, and wait for them to get there. Don't say nothing about what was going on. Just wait for them to get there. We got there, and she did the total opposite. Oh, you going to jail this time, MFN.
Yeah.
Which gave him the opportunity to, please don't do this to me, and what can I do, and how can I don't want to go to jail, and what about the kids, they ain't gonna need me, and...
Are they gonna need you? Let me shut up.
Well, it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
It was, what could he do that would make, he's not gonna do it anymore, and what can he do that would make you feel better to, let this whole thing go? So now I have to choose. Because jail is not the option. But what else would make you happy? Other than him stopping. And my request was for him to tell everybody that he had did that to me. So that people wouldn't keep calling me liars and all of that. Because, of course, the first time when I told, I still had to be amongst this family. Yeah. They bullied me and treated me like crap.
Yeah.
Crap. It was like the worst childhood experience for any child to go through.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wish it on any child.
Yeah.
Let alone myself, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So I was in a dark place. I had been in a very dark place for a very long time, unknowingly. Unbeknownst to myself. Yeah. I did not know. Yeah. I did not know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how angry I was. I didn't realize how bitter, how I was messed up.
Yeah.
I was getting in relationships that...
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Abusive relationships at that. Yeah. And then would stay. But I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
A real fighter.
Yeah.
Grew up in Detroit, raised on the east side.
I know.
3, whatever, all day. What?
Yeah.
But I got to a place where I didn't know how to fight for me.
Yeah.
But I could fight for you.
Right.
I could fight for anybody else but me.
Yeah.
And that's what my life had become.
Yeah.
It got to a place where my life wasn't about me no more, And I realize now that happened as a child. I made the decision that it wasn't about me when I went back home.
Yeah.
For my siblings. I have sacrificed so much of my life for other people.
Yeah.
And, when it's time to get that back, it's like crickets,
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of different phases of life. I've been happy. I've been sad. Yeah. I've been depressed. PTSD.
Yeah.
The whole spiel,
Yeah.
I've tried to kill myself multiple times.
Yeah.
Even as a kid when I first, when I first went back home and everything, and I had to change my story, I tried to kill myself. I ended up doing it again. And when I did it that time, I took everything in the house.
Yeah.
The first time I was trying to jump from our We stayed in the 2-family flat. Right. I was trying to jump from the upstairs window. And right as I thought I was about to jump through, my brother came right in and snatched me back, right? Wow. That was the first time. The second time, I took everything in the house. Every single thing in the house. Cough syrup, pills, everything.
Whatever you could put your hands
Whatever
on.
I could find.
Yeah.
I took it all.
Right.
And I made peace with my life and my situation. I let my siblings sleep in my room that night. I loved on them all until we went to sleep. My brother sat on that floor and played the game till I passed out at some point. I woke up the next morning throwing up everywhere.
Wow.
I had to suffer in that for hours because my mama thought, oh, she pregnant or she this or whatever. I got to go to work. I'm not about to deal with this, whatever. Mm-hmm. My stepdad at the time was like, listen, when I take you to work, because she was in nursing, I'm taking her as well. Yeah. And when I got there, I had to tell them because I was suffering. Like, I felt like I was literally dying, alive, dying. Yeah. And that feeling wasn't feeling good. I wanted to die in my sleep. Not like be woke going through all these changes, you know? So, you know, I went through all of that where they sent me to the psych ward, basically. Mm-hmm. And I had to stay there for a few months. And I must say, I really enjoyed it. Okay. That's crazy to say, but I didn't have to worry about being touched on.
That's the part, yeah.
I didn't have to do nothing for nobody but myself.
Right.
You know.
That's crazy the first time that you actually got a chance to, like, not even necessarily be at peace, but to be concerned specifically about yourself and yourself only. Was in a psych ward.
And that's where I was introduced to therapy. Okay. And that's where things got a little better for me. Whenever I would be consistent with my therapy, I'm doing well. Yeah. I'm doing well. Yeah. You know? It would be the times where I'm like, well, I don't need therapy now that, you know, I go right back to that dark place really quickly, you know? But yeah, when I was in there, I'll never forget Dr. Osteen. I don't know where she is today, but that lady is the reason why I knew it wasn't my fault what happened to me. She taught me that it wasn't my fault. Right. That I was the victim in this situation, you know? Yeah. And while I don't like to call myself a victim, I heard someone say recently, when you take that away, when you don't say victim, then you take away the whole experience. Okay. I want to say it was Mathis. And I kind of understood what he was saying, you know? So, but I don't live my life as a victim, but I was victimized, you know? Yeah. And she taught me that it wasn't my fault, you know? And that was the beginning of where, you know, I was able to kind of cope better. Yeah. Therapy taught me how to cope. Yeah. You know, and still live without every other day I want to kill myself or I don't want to be here. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes right into one of the questions that I want to ask you. It's been decades now. It's some time has passed. Why now?
Well, because when I was about 13 years old, I was at church one day, and everybody was hooping and hollering about this pastor, this bishop that was coming to the church, right? Mm-hmm. And his name was Bishop Noel Jones. And I'm like, okay, they're like, oh, he's a prophet and this and that, and I don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm, again, probably 13. And when he came, the church was full, packed, wall to wall, and he started a prayer line. And it was lines on every aisle. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? I'm going up there. And I went up there. Mm-hmm. So I got in the line. And because he had like 4 lines, he's going back and forth. And he's not giving everyone a word. So everybody, he might say something to you. And then the 10 people behind you, they just
Right, yeah.
God bless you. You know,
he was
touch
making
on the
contact
head.
with, yeah.
Gotta go. So I'm a kid, so I'm prepared to be like, oh, he not about to say nothing to me.
Right.
He's gonna touch me on the head. So I was prepared to get up there, him touch my head, and I keep walking. And then I tried to do that, but he's kind of like, wait, where you going?
Yeah.
Stop. And he talked to everybody in the mic. But when he got to me, he whispered in my ear.
Wow.
And he said, you've been asking God a question. God said you've been asking him a question. And he told me to give you the answer today. And he said, the question is, are you still a virgin even though what happened to you? And God said to tell you yes. When I tell you, nobody in the whole world knew that. So that was that moment where I was like, oh, okay. You know, because with all I had been through at that point in my life, I was still believing in God, but I was 50-50. You know, it was like, some days it was like, when it was a good day, it was like, okay, God, I think I feel you. I think I see you. But then it was them bad, horrible days, and I'm like, I'm questioning, are you even real?
Right.
Mind you, the people who taught me about you are the people who's victimized me. Right? Me and so many others that I know of as well, right?
Yeah.
So when he told me that, when Noel Jones told me that, he also told me that what my ministry was. And he said it would be to help women. That what I've been through in my life, that I was gonna go back and use what I've been through to help other people.
Yeah.
And he was like, you don't realize it, but you already doing it. He said, you hang around a lot of older people. He said, you don't know it, but they listen to you.
Yeah.
And he really went into detail with that thing. And I'm, hold on. So you can really hear from God? Because you heard that directly from God.
Listen, flesh and blood did not reveal that.
So that, you know, but so I've known for that long, but I wasn't ready. The pandemic, right before the pandemic happened, I got in one of the darkest spaces that I've probably been in since a kid. And I was really lost, really badly. Crying, just a mess. A mess. I didn't know if I was coming or going, what I wanted to, like, nothing. I was just lost. I don't even know that I even wanted to be here, you know? And then the pandemic happened. So I already was in this space where I pulled myself away from everybody when I was in this darkness. Then the pandemic happened, so I had to be by myself. And during that time, I was able to, God just set me in my room, and it was like my 55-inch TV was a movie screen. And it was my life playing on the screen. And he just kept telling me, it's time to go. It's time. It's time. You have to get up. Get up. He showed me, this is this, and that is that, and this is why this, and that is why that. And I had to start looking at some of the people that I respect so much as in ministry and in family, you know, and it's like, I've watched all these Christians. My whole life has been about God and church, and but I was torn because how are we Christians, but we sit back and allow these type of things? How so many people knew what I was going through. So many people could have stepped up and said no. No. It was, I don't want to make this person mad, or I don't want to be like. I don't believe that's how God works.
Not at all.
So, but in that process, that's where I learned it was time. God started downloading me with who I am and what He placed me here for. And now I have on these lenses where I see things totally different. And now it's not about me. It's not about my mom. It's not even about it's not about none of that. It's about helping somebody else. Because if you look around, it's still happening. is very, very, very prevalent today. It's still happening in families all over the world.
Yeah.
It's still happening in the church.
Yeah.
It's still happening.
Yeah.
Like Catholic, Baptist, you name it. I mean, stories are coming out even today as we probably sitting here talking now somewhere. Absolutely. Somebody is saying something like, it's terrible. Look at R. Kelly, look at Bill Cosby, look at all these situations.
Right.
And it really breaks my heart. Those are some of the things, too, that motivated me as well.
Yeah.
Because it breaks my heart to see people say, well, they should have said something years ago, or they should have this, or they should have that. Because guess what? Yeah. I did, and look what happened in my situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like I was the predator.
Yeah.
Mind you, I was a kid, and I was the predator.
Yeah.
But then you want grown-ups, or you want a grown woman who decided that, yeah, I'll come to your hotel room with you to relax or chill, whatever it was that we discussed, and then I get there and you change this up on me, and now I'm going to go against Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Mind you, these people that I'm talking about, local, regular people.
Regular people.
But not too regular because they can move things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to get up. God told me to get up and go, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I started to. He showed me a space where people can feel comfortable to come in and be like, listen, this is what I've been through, and I just want a support group, like an open space where a building where different people can come and just talk, be open and feel comfortable, and we have all the resources within, you know, where a safe house where young girls like myself, what I went through, they don't have to go back home. They don't have to worry about choosing me. You could come here and we'll make sure that you're fine all through the process, whatever we need to do to help you, you know. He showed me, he started downloading me with all these visions, and then I knew that I had to get up. Because it excited me. And it was like, oh, I can do that. I would love, if everything that I went through was to help somebody else, if it really can help somebody else, then I'm willing to put my neck on the line for that.
Jeez.
And that's how we got here today.
Woo. Listen, this is something I feel very, very strongly about. Anybody who knows me, I work with children, I work with young people. I work with teenagers specifically, but like my life's work is to pull purpose. And typically, you know, it's more geared towards young people. Mm-hmm. So this isn't something I've personally gone through. I have a numerous amount of people I love and I care about, including you, who I know have gone through things like this or things similar to this. And this is why I wanted to do this episode, because it's something, like you said, it's so prevalent. And it doesn't matter denomination. It doesn't matter faith. It doesn't. It just happens. And it's so unfortunate. And I wanted to have this conversation because, one, it needs to be talked about. It needs to be addressed. As much as, like you said, in the media, we look and there have been so many people that we have seen and have known. And it's just like, well, that's just who that person is. And it pisses me off because it's just who that person is until it's somebody that you care about.
Exactly. That's it right there. You just said something
that is just
it's like people will walk around your issues, and that person and they'll see the problem and won't help and address the problem until it's someone that they care about. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like the person that is the problem can be a problem for decades. Yeah. As long as everybody loves that person and it's a popular person. Yeah. You know, that is insane.
It is so insane because, like you said, you mentioned this earlier, those predators are the ones who seek after those kids who are quiet, the kids who are seen as the outcast, the people and the individuals that aren't necessarily the favorite or whatever else. So it pisses me off, and it really is extremely triggering because, like I said, I'm surrounded by this. I work with young people. I work with these kids, you know, every day. And so many of the things that you described of feeling and experiencing, the just feeling worthless. like even the experience of how a statement about your body after you've gone through something like this, how it plays and affects how you see yourself, not only as, you know, a person, as a human being, but as a woman, as God's daughter. Like, it's just so many different working pieces. And I think for me, as somebody who is a person who will do everything that I can to protect the ones that I love, but especially some kids, I do not play about people's kids at all. I don't care if that kid's in my care. If I know this kid's name or whatever else, I'm going to do whatever I need to make sure this child is protected.
Same.
It needs to be addressed. But I'm trying my hardest not to, you know, be overly emotional about it, because I know that this is a teaching space. I know this is not only a teaching space for, you know, being able to share your story. I know that that is a teaching space, and I very much do believe that even in everything that you have overcome and everything that you are still overcoming, there are so many people who are going to be and are already being set free. I've seen it myself already. So I'm not going to go. I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to preach. But
yes, I'm glad you said still going through, because it's one of those things that I don't know that you ever get over it.
Yeah.
You learn to live with it.
Yeah.
But get over it.
Yeah.
I am 42 years old.
Yeah.
As you said, this long, why now? Like, I should have, why not now? And why did I take so long? I beat myself up sometimes. Now I'm trying to like keep my emotions together, but this is where I feel bad that I did not step out sooner. You know, you always feel like, who am I? I can't make a change, or nobody's going to listen to me. Or you don't know that, though, unless you actually step out there and do it, right? And I feel bad because I know that the person that did was my stepdad in particular. Mm-hmm. I know that he didn't stop after me. Yeah. I know that for a fact. Yeah. You know?
Trying to make this thing move, and every day remind myself my ego's only bruised.
This conversation isn't over yet. Please be sure to come back next week when we release part 2 of this episode. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, keep your hands clean and don't forget to adjust your crown.
Like a turtle in the sand, buried, looking for a way out. Death was on my tail like Jonah in the belly.